The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Central Kitsap, Washington, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32329. Please utilize this job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. Let's get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Here's a quick view, just of the side view from the driver's perspective, and then we're going to go ahead and start with the front bumper. Let's start down in the lower left corner of the screen, first starting with dual air horns on the outer edges. Moving inward on the passenger side, you'll find your mechanical siren. Located just off the frame rails, you'll find 2 tow hooks. Moving to the right of that location, this is going to be on the driver's side. This will be your electronic siren and PA speaker. Moving up from that location up onto the body, on the outer edges, you'll find your marker and turn indicator. Just inside of that location, you'll find your headlights, high and low beam on the outside, high beam on the inside. Up from that, you'll find 2 forward-facing emergency warning lights. Up onto the windshield itself, you'll find 2 windshield wipers. On the outer edge of the mirror, you'll find a flat mirror and also a convex mirror. Moving up onto the brow of the apparatus is where we'll find 5 running lights. And then located just inside of that, you'll find a center forward-facing floodlight. Moving up onto the roof of the apparatus, you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Just inside that light bar in the very center, you'll find your Opticom traffic advisor. And then above that traffic advisor is where you'll find your go light, which is your spotlight. Let's take a quick look at some of those items close up. On the outer edge, you're going to find that turn indicator marker light. At the very top, once again, inside the light bar is where you'll find your Opticom. Let's move down to the step of the operator. First, a light and an air inlet. Moving just inside of that, when plugged into shore power, your auto charge status center will illuminate and start the process of charging. And to the right, you'll find your shoreline inlet. This is a 30 amp plug. Let's move now to the cab itself. Just behind the driver's seat, you'll find your first compartment. Inside that compartment is where you'll find a shoreline outlet. This is a 20 amp plug activated when plugged into shore power. Let's move now to the pump area. First, in the lower left corner, you'll find yellow, the number 1 driver's side discharge. You're also going to find this at all discharges. This is a warning regarding pressurized caps and the associated hazards while opening those. You'll also find your large diameter intake, Pierce American Flag Eagle. And then to the right, you'll find a warning here, riding fall, not to ride on the side of the apparatus. You'll also find just underneath that, we're in the foam section, so this is a warning not to mix different brands and manufacturers of foam. To the right, this is your foam lever for draft, foam, and tank, and then beneath that, you'll find the foam fill location. On the far left-hand side, down the lower corner, you're going to find your air supply and also an air supply chuck. Moving to the right of that, you're going to find your freshwater refill. And then further to the right, you'll find your auxiliary inlet. This is a 2.5 inch female inlet. Moving just down to the lower section here, you'll find all of your color-coded drains. Let's take a look at those close up. Let's first start once again up at the top, number 1 driver's side. You can see it's color-coded in yellow. Your foam fill operations for draft, foam, and also tank. Down in the lower left-hand side, you're going to find the rinse water fill location. And then down on the right, you'll find your auxiliary side, driver's side auxiliary inlet, 2.5 inch. Let's move up to the cab itself. All of your doors have keyed locks, in addition with grab handles at all points of entry. You will find emergency light mid location here at the very bottom. And then at the very top, you're going to indicate this is a water location for an indicator. That's the red, yellow, blue, and green, indicating the level of your tank. Let's move to the next compartment just off the back side of the cab. You'll find long tool storage compartment here and also backboard storage. Let's move slightly up above this location here. This is where you're going to find an additional booster line. This is the access point for that booster line to be pulled outward.
We're now to the pump panel access. We're going to start in the upper left-hand corner. We'll identify those items next. First starting, if your pump is properly engaged, you'll find your pump engaged light illuminated. To the left, you'll find all of your diagnostic engine information. We'll go over that slightly in depth. And then to the right in the gray area, you're going to find your master intake, master discharge, test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. They are currently capped. And then to the very far right-hand side, if illuminated, it will be in the amber color. That is the PCM fault. And then beneath that, you'll find an audible speaker, which is adjustable by just simply turning right or left to dampen the sound. Let's go back over some of the engine information. First, identify the gauges. In the left-hand side, you'll start with your oil, water, volts, and fuel. You will find there are some amber indicators here. First, check transmission. There are also 2 on the right side for check engine and fuel, indicating low fuel. You'll also find there are 4 stop engines or check engines that are red. First, low oil pressure, stop engine, battery, and also water temp. As we move down beneath that area, we'll find your discharges. They're clearly color-coded. They also indicate the label and also if they're foam capable. In the center, you'll find your primer for your pump. There's also priming instructions here just beneath that. Seek the owner's manual for more information. Let's move over here to the very far right-hand side. This is going to be your pump module. This is your Pierce throttle control pressure governor. In the upper left, you'll find, if illuminated, a check engine light in yellow. And to the right, you'll find a stop engine, which would be in red if illuminated. In between, you'll find your RPMs. Beneath that, you'll find additional engine diagnostic information. Beneath that in the blue section, you'll find your water tank level indicator. You have 2 indications here for silence and also your menu button in the gray area. And then as we move further down into the black area, you'll find 2 also indicators, one pressure control or RPM control. That's for throttle control. In between, you'll also find a digital readout. Prior to engaging anything, first make sure you have your throttle ready. That's a green indicator. And then you also control your control module and your reset button if needed. Down at the very bottom, you'll find the throttle control. And then there's a red indication in the center. If you push that, we'll move to the idle position. All right, as we're caught up here, let's go ahead and move to the very far left-hand side of the pump panel. Same plane. We're going to find your minimum operation maintenance schedule. We'll cover that in depth in a few moments. Let's move to the right. You'll find your deluge discharge. And then further to the right, you'll find your Husky foam system control module. That's the red section. And then further to the right, you'll find your foam level. This is the amount of foam in the tank. And then further to the right, you'll find a twist, not a pull. This is a recirculating line open and close valve. Let's move down to the left. You'll find your tank fill. Next over is your tank to pump. And then as we move further to the right, probably the most important here is a warning here that only trained personnel should operate this equipment and to use your owner's manual. On the far right, you'll find your foam system instructions and also the specifications just beneath that for your Husky 3 foam system. You'll also find the number 2 discharge and your large diameter discharge. These are 2 electronically controlled valves. Those are on the passenger side of the vehicle. We'll cover those in a few minutes. Let's go back to the minimum operation schedule for 150, 200, and 250 PSI. You have your GPM on the left and your RPMs on the right. Instructions are on your far left. Let's go back to the Husky foam system. First at the very top, you'll find your system on and off. Beneath that, you'll find the gray area, which is your increase and decrease. And then to the right in orange, you'll find the prime and system indications. There also are instructions on the device itself. Let's take a quick look at your Acron electronic valves. This is for the number 2 and also your large diameter passenger side discharge. Close up here of your tank fill and tank to pump. Let's move down to the next section down. First, starting on the very far left-hand side, this is for your rinse water features. First, there's a switch on and off will indicate in green. And then to the right, you'll find your primer drain, which is a black, real discharge. And then we'll talk about this pan door here in just a few minutes and what's behind it. Let's move all the way back over to the left-hand side where your rinse water is full with a green indicator, or your rinse water is in the low position in the amber or red. This is also the location for the rinse water outlet. And then across the very bottom is where you'll find all of your associated color-coded and labeled drains. Let's take a look here a little bit closer at the rinse water. You can see at the very top, that's the on-off for the system. Then you have an indicator for the level of it. Back to the pan door, you'll find in the very back, this is your foam level. Instructions are on the door on your left. You also have your pump shift. This is for your manual pump shift override. It's a protected switch, and there's an amber indicator if it is lit. On the very far left-hand side of the pump panel, you have future switch locations. At the very top, you'll find your reel rewind. And on the very far right-hand side in this same compartment, you'll find the top mount for your light. This is the control module for that Wilbert light mast. In the upper left-hand corner, this is the next compartment. We're going to find your battery charging system, and it's plugged into the shore power outlet. In between, or in front of and to the rear of the wheels, is where you'll find your DEF fill. It's a 4.5 US gallon tank, and then you'll find your diesel fill, which is a silver cap in the very back of the rear. Between the, or I should say in front of and in rear of the rear wheel, you'll find your folding wheel chocks. As we move to the center compartment, the D handle releases the mechanism here to allow this tool board to open. There is also a latch on the inside. If it's been opened all the way, the latch is open. This is the release mechanism to restore it back to its locked position. Let's move to the next compartment. You can see you do have airflow ventilation within the compartments. That's the tube at the very top. As we move down, you'll find LED lighting, and also in the very rear, this is the release mechanism for allowing that shelf to be pulled outward. Quick view of the side and the rear of the apparatus. Let's start now at the rear of the apparatus, and we'll go over and identify some of the items here. First, the obvious, brake turn, and also your emergency light and backup. We also have some fold down steps to gain access aloft. There is also a backup camera located on the driver's side at the very top section, and emergency lights on both right and left side. As we move further down, you're going to find some warning labels here regarding not riding on the back of the apparatus, as it is dangerous. And then you're also going to find two discharges to the rear. These are both 2.5-inch discharges. The very back in the lower section, you'll find your traffic advisor, and then just beneath that, you'll find an additional pan door. This is going to be additional compartment storage. Let's move to the far right-hand side. This is going to be your ladder storage locations, and then above that, you'll also find tool storage. And then above that, access for additional hose storage or long tools accessories at the very top. A couple of close-ups here. First, your backup camera. As we move across and just slightly down from this location, you'll find the work light switch. And then we do have the 2.5-inch discharge. There is a warning label here regarding those pressurized caps and the associated hazards while removing them. And then at the very base, you'll have additional storage location. And you can also see your toe or anchor point at the very bottom. You also have a 24-foot and a 14-foot roof ladder. Just above that, you'll find a 10-foot attic ladder and also tool or long tool storage locations here. As we move to the dividers, you'll find movable dividers and also a further compartment just above those tool storage locations. We're up in the dunnage area where you'll find your water tank fill. The very first one on your left is going to be your water fill for your main tank. To the right is your foam fill, and then just in front of that is going to be that rinse water. Let's go back to the dunnage area and identify a few items here with your booster line reel. On the left-hand side here, you'll find this lever. This is a tensioning for allowing the wheel to tension on a speed as it rolls out or back in. And then at the very top, if you have any type of mechanical failure, that's the mechanism for manually rewind. You'll also find a breaker switch down in the lower left-hand corner. That's the black box with the rubber button on the side. And then as we look to the inside area, you'll find your foam system for your hydraulic oil reservoir. That's the fill location for that hydraulic fluid. In the center, you'll find your deluge system. And as we move just slightly to the right, you'll find your night scan. You'll also find the cab of the apparatus has been diamond plated, and be cautious when you're walking in that area. At the very rear section, you will find these diamonds indicating they're reflective for firefighter safety while operating on the top. We're now to the passenger side of the vehicle. We'll roll through these compartments relatively fast. Same configuration as the driver's side. Down in the lower section, you'll find bottle storage locations here with tethered straps for safety. Let's now move to the right forward compartment. We'll find a pull-out shelf. This is the release mechanism on the right. And as we look to the upper right-hand side, this is going to be your electrical panel, and we'll cover that next. You'll also find the cab tilt module, which is just located underneath that electrical panel. I have some close-ups of that also. First, let's start at the very top. The S1 stands for shore power. This is the electrical control panel for that. Here are the breakers that are associated with those, individually marked. Just beneath that, you'll find your cab lift. There are some instructions here. Also be cautious, and there are some danger labels here. Let's start now at the pump area. First, in the upper left-hand corner, you'll find, once again, a warning label regarding not riding on the side of the apparatus, your large diameter pump intake, the Pierce American Flag Eagle logo, and then to the right, you'll find, once again, pressurized caps and the associated hazards while removing those caps. You'll also find the number 2 discharge, 2.5 inch, and because that's an electronic valve, there is an override. It's going to require the special tool, which is located in the compartment. Just beneath that, you'll find the auxiliary inlet. This is a 2.5 inch auxiliary inlet on the far left. And then to the far right, you'll find your large diameter in green. This is going to be a large diameter discharge. There is also a override because that's an electronic valve also. Here's some close-ups of those items that we just talked about. Passenger side auxiliary inlet, once again 2.5 inch. Let's now move up to the next compartment. First, with the crosslays, you can see they're individually labeled and also color coded. You will find an entanglement warning because of those hoses coming off the side. There is a warning here, and be cautious with those hoses for entanglement. There's also a really small latch located in between those. That's the release mechanism to allow those speed loads to be removed and moved to the ground. Once again, this is on the same side. On the other side, it's going to be your water indicator. You also have in your air intake a release mechanism here for your door locks. And as we move inside the cab, you'll find warning labels here regarding safety for your firefighters. You'll also find an access panel at the rear section of your engine, which is for daily checks for oil and transmission, and we'll talk about those in a few minutes. And then you also have your 2 compartments to the very rear. Here's your engine oil and also your transmission fluid checks. We're now in those compartments, roll-up compartment door, LED lighting. There's also shore power inside those compartments. Overhead in the rear, you'll find push on and off red and white lights, speaker system, and also your intercom system. Let's go ahead and now move to the, this is a view here of the entire cab area. Let's go ahead and go to the passenger side first. We'll start once again at point of entry. We have those warning labels for you. This vehicle is equipped with a supplemental restraint system and airbag. There are instructions and warning labels also pertaining that. As we move to the very far right, just to the right of the supplemental restraint system, we find the fill location for your windshield wipers. And let's go ahead and move to the center section. From the officer seat, you'll find barrel style 12 volt access, and then you'll also find USB access for 12 volt. You do have a remote speedometer located here, and then also your vehicle data recorder port located in that vicinity. Let's move to the center console area. You'll find your brake information on the left-hand side, control for your climate control. You'll also find siren control just beneath that, and your PA speaker, and also the PA system microphone. Down in the lower left corner, you'll also find 12 volt USB style access. Here's some close-ups of those items that we just talked about. Your MGM brakes, to the right climate control, and then just beneath that you'll find your siren control and PA system. Let's go ahead and move overhead. Located in the center, you have 2 fans. You'll also find your Go Light control on the right-hand side. Moving up from that location, you'll find your Firecom system. Moving to the left overhead of the officer position, you'll find a set of switches for your emergency master, driver's side scene, passenger side scene, and your front scene. And then moving to the left, you'll find your AM/FM weather band radio. Once again, located in the center, you'll find your fire comm system. This is for your wireless base. Also located over the officer side, you'll find your pump pressure and also your water tank level. We're now into the driver's section. You'll find at the points of entry those warning labels. You'll also find color-coded red seat belts for easy identification for if personnel have them on. You'll also find just around the seats blocking this view here, but you're going to find this placard. This is the Pierce manufacturing placard. Date October of 2018. It has the job number, it has the VIN number, the chassis type, and also all of your gross vehicle weight ratings and tire information. It also has components and fluid capacities and the types. As we move to the left down at the floor level, you'll find your air horn and electronic siren control. And as we move up about left knee of the operator, you'll find the master battery switch. This is the on-off switch. Just beneath that, you'll find 3 ports for your engine, transmission, ABS diagnostic ports, and also a display port and tech module. To the left, you'll find your engine, regen, inhibit, ABS diagnostic, and DPF regen switches. Above from that, you'll find window controls for passenger side, also the cab, and also electronic siren, air horn, and also a siren brake. That's for your mechanical siren. As we move up onto the dash left-hand side, you'll find your ignition, start, and hazard lights. And then to the right, you'll find a very small switch. It says EM on it. That is your emergency master switch. And then you'll also find your headlights for parking lights and headlights, and then panel switch for brightening and dimming your panel lights. Your vehicle is equipped also with an airbag in the steering column. SRS is located here. On the dash, you're going to find your transmission, DEF, oil, water, tachometer, and speedometer. And then on the right-hand side, you'll find your volts, fuel, front air, rear air. Above and below the tachometer and speedometer, you'll find additional diagnostic information that may display. On the left, you'll find your pull to apply your system parking brake, push to release. You'll also find on the far right your command zone. This is a tremendous amount of information available at your fingertips. Please seek the owner's manual for more information. To the right, you'll find your Allison transmission pad. And then we have a set of switches here. First for stationary, okay to pump and roll. You have your water pump, your foam system, and then you also have some future switch locations to the right. In the next set of switches down, you'll find your engine brake on and off. You'll find the brake settings for medium, high, and low, traction, off-road, and mirror heat. Close-up of your Allison transmission pad. And then as we move upward from this location and slightly to the right, you'll find your mirror controls for your flat and convex mirror. Overhead of the operator, you'll find this placard regarding your height of your vehicle, length, and gross vehicle weight rating. And then beneath that, you'll find your go light control. And we'll go back to that. Your vehicle is 9 feet 11 inches. Your length is 31 feet 1.5 inches in length, and the gross vehicle weight rating, of course, is 46,800 pounds. There's also the fire department's make any adjustments to your vehicle, please adjust this placard. Here's a close-up of your go light control. There's also one on the officer side for control. Overhead, you'll find all of your controls for emergency master, your roof light, front warning light, side warning light. Next section down, you'll find your lower rear warning, upper rear warning, the high beam flash, and then the far right is your Opticom module. Let's move slightly to the right toward the center. You'll find your driver and passenger side scene lights, your front scene lights, and also the rear scene lights. In the next section down, you'll find the front white cancel. It's to cancel out your front whites, and then also perimeter lights and your load manager. Further to the right above the driver head, you'll also find your directional indicator for your traffic advisor. And then directly in the center, you'll find a red puck style light. If indicating or flashing, you have a compartment door open and you should not move your apparatus. There are also 2 push on and off white and red lights overhead. Congratulations, Central Kitsap, Washington, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32329. If you have any questions as to regard of the content of this video or any questions regarding your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Congratulations.